Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey Sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister, I'm doing well. Was playing double duty here just for a second, so had to jump off of one call onto this one. Had to get ready for the Hey Sister.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're so excited tonight. As you can see, we are not alone. We are joined by several gentlemen, the gentlemen of, let me
Wow.
say, Ralph. Ralph 7 on that show. We had this whole conversation in the pre-show about my Louisiana, Southern Louisiana vernacular. So it's all good. But they're going to come on and introduce themselves more in depth in a minute. But how you doing this evening, gentlemen?
Blessed.
We're doing good. Great.
Thanks
for having us.
All right. We're so glad that you are here. If you're out there tuning in and you're watching right now, what we want you to do is join the conversation in the comments. We want you to be involved with the discussion that we're going to have this evening. We also want you to like, follow, share, subscribe to Hey Sister on our YouTube channel, as well as follow us along on Instagram and Facebook. So, in typical Hey Sister fashion, we have to start today's episode with a couple of hot topics. And the first hot topic we want to talk about this evening is capitalism versus free speech. So, Jody's watching. Hey, Jody. This one.
Hey, Jody.
She says, hello, gentlemen. Hey, sisters. Hey.
No, she said, well, hello, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Well, hello,
gentlemen. Hello to you too.
So we want to talk about this whole concept of capitalism versus free speech. We're not going to belabor the insurrection that took place in the United States Capitol this past week because we did a whole special broadcast on that. But what has transpired as a result is that many people, like Senator Josh Hawley, is a little upset with Simon & Schuster, which he had a book deal because Simon & Schuster said, you know what, we no longer want to have you, we're no longer going to publish your book. And so he came out and said, hey, they're infringing upon my free speech. And we want to have a conversation. Is that free speech or is that just capitalism at its best? Because I thought, especially Republicans, they are staunch capitalists, right?
That's what I thought. I mean, listen, this is what I'm going to say first and foremost. I would like for certain people to stop trying to appropriate our vernacular. Let's just start there because he's talking about something about the woke mob. Listen, you don't get to use woke, not in that sense. That's it. B, Simon & Schuster has the right to spend their money just like where they want to and how they want to, just like you do. So he chose to support the actions of the president of the United States. He chose not to put his personal, endeavors and future endeavors aside for the greater good. And he chose to walk past mobsters and give them a fist.
A fist, girl.
Right. So, and Simon & Schuster chose to take their money. They went where the money resides, and clearly it's not with you, Josh. The money don't reside with you. So go home and just deal with it. But people have to understand that this notion of free speech is freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. And so you may feel how you feel, but you can't be upset with other people for feeling that way too. Now, sister, I don't know if you're frozen. I'm going to assume that you are because otherwise that's a weird face. So I'm going to throw it to the gentleman to tell me if anybody else wants to jump in terms of their thoughts about this capitalism versus free speech. Anybody want to take it?
I definitely think, I could say that we've learned out the most this year that words have power. And I think people now have to be more aware of how they're using their words, right? I think even to the president, right? I think We need to think before we speak, and we can't just say the first thing that comes to our minds, because there's consequences to not only your actions but your words. And I think it's hurting people's pockets right now, for those who choose to just be reckless with their words. So I think that's a good thing to learn.
And I always say, you know, when people want to jump out with the free speech stuff, it's like, again, you can't holler fire in a theater, in a crowded theater. So stop saying that certain things are about free speech. There are still rules and regulations to our speech and what we can and cannot say and do. And if anybody, and for a group of people who seems to want to have the lion's share or claim to be all about laws and law and order, they certainly want to break a lot of laws these days. But that's my thought.
Agreed. And especially when you utilize, you know, your social media platforms, when, you know, one way your narrative is saying one thing one day, and then you look down the line and you try to change that narrative. You know, you where you truly are when you were in that point in time, those are always that's going to live forever. And those consequences, you know, when you're going for a job opportunity and you say something way back when, and you say, I'm a changed person or whatever the case may be, that's who you truly were when you wrote down or expressed what you were feeling at that particular time. And I think that we're seeing that, you know, in a lot of different realms right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Rosalind says this free speech is not free from consequences. I know that's what y'all talked about during my internet hiatus, which if that happens again, the show must go on, folks, right? That's for sure. But speaking of the Capitol, we do want to share a little something for you folks that are avid Hey Sister fans. You know, our good friend Mike McQuarrie, he was down on Capitol Hill the day that the insurrection took place. He's featured in this photo that has now become a meme because he worked for Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett. We think it's kind of funny. If this Will in Our Fight was a group selfie, and that most definitely not our fight, but we want to just let everybody know, because Mike has been on the show a couple of times and he's brought us the happenings in politics, and we want everybody to know who are Hey Sister fans that he is safe, and we will be bringing him back on. So the next hot topic, oh sister. I'm talking to you first, because you know.
Listen. Now this with your spectrum, I got to make sure you're not frozen, because it was like you like. Okay.
Y'all do all those great commercials. I need y'all service to match. I'm just gonna say that publicly. Okay.
Listen. Okay. So the Kamala Harris vote cover. So first and foremost, I always think it's a great day to celebrate with pink and green. So I do not bemoan the choice of colors at all. But I do, and if you want to bring up the picture, maybe, sister, so people have a better idea of what we're talking about. So it seems that there's some controversy around the cover, specifically the one where Vice President-elect Harris is going for a more casual look. We know she's, all about her chucks, and they attempted to also pay homage to our great sisterhood, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, with the pink and green, and then, as you said, sister, with the way the drapings they appear, it seems like they also tried to pay homage to her Indian heritage. Look, and then some people had an issue with just what the headline was, because it was alluding to fashion or what have you. I mean, is it their best work?
Before you go there, let's show the digital cover.
Okay, so we'll show the digital cover now.
Yeah. So the digital cover with the gold draping and her gray suit, the power pose. certainly more airbrushing of the face and more coif on the hair.
Again, I think the goal with the pink and green cover was to make her appear like she's one of the people with the chucks, the very casual outfit, and of course, like I said, to pay homage. I mean, look, they know where the money resides. They know who helped make this situation happen. It's the Divine Nine organizations definitely were there at the forefront, and so were HBCU graduates. So, is it their best work? No, it's not. But
as Arnetta said, they could have done better. As a matter of fact, there are too many Alpha Kappa Alpha women who are personal and professional stylists who are also interior stylists who would have gladly come in and got that little Vogue credit and really polished it up. And I get it. You can also be for the people, by the people, and represent more fashion. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. I don't know, gentlemen. We would love to hear, because this is for sisters, by sisters, about sisters and misters. We'd like to hear a mistress perspective. Who wants to tell us, what did you think of the colors?
I know for me, I went to Norfolk State University for 2 years, historical Black college, and the pride in the sororities and fraternity was amazing. And to me, for that cover, more could have been done, because I know the pride behind it. I get what you're trying to say for the people, but like you guys mentioned, more could have been done with the background, more could have done possibly with the outfit and whatnot. I love the position she's in and what she represents, but they could have took that to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Devon, I'll turn it to our fashion guru.
I mean, in my opinion, I like both covers, to be honest with you. I think it shows a level of diversity, which is what we're lacking right now in the country with everything that's going on, as well as with the gold cover. It's more of a symbol of power, and it's kind of subtle, but at the same time, it's more like, yes, I'm in my position right now, and I'm showing you things to come and things that I am about to show you all as a nation to be able to take over and not only make history, but to help this country get back to the place that it actually needs to be in.
Okay. Well, that is certainly a perspective that I would not have had, and that's why I'm so glad that we asked the question. I don't know about y'all out there other than Arnetta. What y'all think? Share with us in the comments what your thoughts are so we can bring them up on the screen. But right now we're going to transition into talking more about what these gentlemen of Route 7 are doing, and you can check them out at route7orlando.org. But I'm going to have each of you gentlemen introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. And if you're watching this on another device, if you can mute that device, because I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if it's just me.
No, I am too. That's why I was saying I was hearing an echo.
So if you're watching in another tab or whatever, just mute that one so that the feedback we don't get. But I'm going to start with you, June. Just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and then we'll kind of toss it around from there.
Sure. My name is Gene Martin. Originally from Gainesville, Florida. Been in the Orlando area for about 10 years now. Professionally worked for the Orlando Magic. Co-founder of Route 7 Orlando. Jump-started this organization in 2016, but we'll get a little deeper into, our history, where we've come and where we're going a little bit later. So I'll toss it over to Devon.
How you doing? My name is Devon Burns. Originally from Jacksonville, Florida, by way of Atlanta, Georgia. I did split time growing up in my life, but that's another story here and there. But now I've been in Orlando for about 12 years now, since 2007, 2008. Graduated from University of Central Florida. I'm working in banking now with fraud security. And then also one of the original members of Route 7 that Gene will actually have a chance to tell you about that later on.
Okay.
Peace and love. My name is Akwanza Cadogan. Born in Brooklyn, New York, but I've lived in Orlando, Florida for probably as long as I can remember. Graduate of the University of Florida, and I am the founder of a company called Time Capsule for the Culture, which aims to preserve Black culture for young people. So, and proud board member of Route 7 Orlando. So,
Okay, very good.
All right, good day. My name is Carolyn Williams. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, raised in South Florida. I've been in Orlando since 2009. I went to the University of Central Florida. Professionally, my first, what I do currently is I'm an account executive with Orlando Magic, as well as I'm a local realtor. So I'm proud to be with Route 7 since 2018.
Okay, very good. And taking us into the finish, TK.
I love it, y'all. I am TK. Thaddeus Cornegay is my full name, but TK for short. I'm born and raised here in Orlando, Florida, and all my life. So I love it here, and I'm so glad to be on here tonight with you ladies. And then also, I am a franchisee owner with Camp Gladiator, outdoor group fitness company. So I am a certified personal trainer and group fitness specialist. So that's what I do now, and a proud board member of Route 7.
All right. Well, let's give them a little bit of a round of applause for all these men. Y'all see my shirt, Issa Rae, room for everybody Black. Y'all see that? You know, we're so excited to have you here because one of the things as we were preparing for this show, you know, this is a group of young men who are all under the age of 40. And I just think that is magical to see all of these dynamic, they're dynamic in who they are individually, professionally, and what they bring to the table. And it's just so exciting to see you young African-American, Black, however you choose to characterize yourself, men doing the doggone thing and doing it from a serving perspective. So I'm so excited about that. So Jean, I'm gonna toss it to you. Tell me, why did you get started? Why did you say we need this organization?
100%. And I'm so glad that you asked that. And I really take pride in every time that I get the opportunity to say how we jump-started our organization. For me, professionally, when I first got to Orlando, I was looking for those, you know, those networking groups or those groups that of folks that I could be in the same room. Number one, I could feel comfortable confiding in those that I was in the same room with. And, you know, those that were service-minded and professionally goal-oriented minded as well. And I really couldn't put my finger on that group that was right for me. So I looked internally in my circle and said, hey, you know, we hang out, we're a group of friends, but are we talking about the right things? And we have a opportunity here to form something that we could be more intentional in our conversations, more intentional in our actions, and really propel something that can, you know, change our circle of influence and ultimately change our communities. And that's really where we jump started. So in 2016, actually 5 years to the day yesterday, we had our first meeting with 5 guys that, aside from me, I knew all of them. None of them knew each other. And that jump started what you see before you today. So very proud of our growth. We are now a official nonprofit as of 2019. And from our focus standpoints, we focus on accountability, and that's accountability of our members when it comes to goal sharing, personal and professional, community service, which we'll get into in regards to mentorship, and then collaboration, looking for opportunities for the folks that are affiliated with us to see how we can better one another in any standpoint, whether it's from a personal perspective. You have so many different walks of life within our group, some that are married, some that have kids, and then, you know, just have different experience. And I think, you know, what better platform to then lean on your brother to the left or right of you to help, you know, propel one another.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Well, we told y'all our audience is primarily women. So some of the comments, we got a little teardrop when I said you all were under 40. We got someone who said they like under 40, but let us simmer down. It is real, right? And then we got another comment from the gentleman, Doug Bryan, said, Route, see, I said it right, Route.
There you go. You got it. You got it.
Is servant leadership at its finest. And that's going to lead us into kind of the next comment or question. And we're going to toss that one over to you, Devon, to tell us a little bit about the mission. Tell us about your mission.
So our mission, basically, I'm gonna just lay it plain. Is we're just a network of gentlemen, and we're just driven to promote growth amongst ourselves first, and then as well as community, after that. So we want to just keep accountability, to piggyback what Jean said, on ourselves. Take accountability on ourselves and what we do, and then after that, once we get ourselves established, we give that back to the community to show that we have that.
All right, I love that. Network of gentlemen to promote growth among ourselves, our community. Anybody else want to pick up on that part of the mission, or how you've been able to actually realize the mission and the work that you do?
I'll go ahead and jump in. So from that standpoint, we host accountability meetings on a regular basis. So that we've utilized our platform. We provide an egoless platform and invite all to come, specifically men, to just really share. And I think that's the key when we talk about an egoless platform, so that you feel comfortable. There's no titles, there's no egos, and we're here for one thing and one thing only, and that's to propel each other and utilize that platform for growth. And when it comes to our community, that's twofold. So when we want to hold ourselves accountable, we want to showcase that men can come together and be like-minded and reciprocate that back into the community. And we have chosen to do so through mentorship. We started our mentorship journey back in 2017. Orange County Public Schools, supporting the My Brother's Keeper initiative. And our mentorship journey has evolved. And I think, as much as we've given into that, we've grown in that respect as well. So that's, twofold how we give back to our community and give back into each other through our mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, observing you giving back, that's really how I really got to observe what you were doing with a Kwanzaa in the program he was doing with the Boys and Girls Club. So y'all might remember I was there, and then COVID happened and we had to suspend everything, right? Mm-hmm. But that's where, I had met Jean before, obviously, well, not obviously to anybody who's watching, obvious to me, just doing stuff within the business community around town. And he's very involved from his professional standpoint with the Orlando Magic. And I was doing a lot of work with the African American Chamber and different things like that. So watching that, but really getting to see up close what you were doing. That was when I met a Kwanzaa with the work that he was doing with the Boys and Girls Club. And I was like, I got to learn a little bit more about what these young brothers are doing. And so that's going to lead me into this next question. And I'm going to toss it to you, Carolyn, to talk about really shifting the narrative about young Black men. Like we said, all of you are under 40. You're all professional. You're college educated. And, that is not the narrative that we see every day. And we're still battling to get that narrative. So tell us about the work you're doing to really shift the narrative about who young Black men are and what they can become.
Yes, thanks for that. And the biggest way we started by changing the narrative is with the whole mentorship program. I mean, when you meet with people younger, they hear from us, and they sometimes might hear very few what we say, but 1 minute of our conversation, they might pull out of that. And it just takes them so far, even though we might talk for 45 minutes, because we try to show like there's other avenues of success. And then currently you always get that narrative of young Black men were not reliable or, not well with families. And we change that by, again, holding ourselves accountable, bringing that up in our conversations. We're not just talking about sports. We're not talking about what you did last night. How can you grow? What's your 5-year goal? What's your 10-year goal? And again, just making that, and once you see the success from it, becomes contagious. People want to hear more about it. People want to do it themselves, because not only are we saying it, we're doing it as well. And then just hearing things about working together, unifying, having the unity of Black men and minority coming together and talk about more than just, the little things of, again, the narrative, but growing. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to shift it. It's not easy, but I think, the years to come, it's going to be changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, sister, you know, this was not one of the pre-planned conversations or questions, but my sister and I've had this conversation a lot. So I want to toss it out there and bring it to the table. And sister, if you want to pick up on it, I will let you pick up on it. Because one of the things we talked about, one of your tenets is around accountability. And we've had this conversation before about when your brother ain't doing right. Sister, do you want to take it from there? Because you know we've had this conversation, and women have this conversation, men. So we want y'all to know we're having these conversations. You know your brother ain't doing right. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, I mean, listen. In the things that you have already said, I had so many thoughts and questions bubble up. But to the point about accountability, I always think about when Hill Harper wrote his book. I think it was Conversations. I'm going to lie about what the actual title was, but
letters to a young black brother.
There you go. There you go. Thank you. But when he had those, he was on, when I lived in Los Angeles, he was promoting that, and I heard him speak, and he was saying one of the things for him was he, for example, couldn't hang out with dudes who didn't take care of their kids, because he felt like, no, we should be able to tap our brothers on the shoulder and say, like, what are you doing? What's up? And so, yeah, we've often wondered, why is it that there isn't a little bit more of that amongst brothers tapping each other and saying, like, bro, you know you messing up, as opposed to, he grown, I can't do nothing about grown folks kind of approach. Anybody can jump in here.
Anybody can jump in on that.
I think for me personally, joining Route 7 and having, 4 other brothers on this call who I can go to them at any time and give them a call and say, hey, I have this idea. I was thinking about doing it, and having them give me the feedback right then and there. That's a great idea. That's not a great idea. Bouncing ideas off of each other. I think that's something that I really cherish, because there's a lot of times where I'm just used to doing things by myself. It's like, I'll just do it on my own. I don't need anyone to help me with it. And I've learned that being a part of this group is like, I need someone to my left, and I need someone to my right to kind of pick me up and give me a call when I'm not feeling like I don't want to do it, or I need a little help with something. And so accountability is key for me. And I love that Route 7 really focuses on that as one of its pillars.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Carolyn, you were about to jump in on that.
Yes, I feel like for me, sometimes as Black men, you're afraid to give your opinion on somebody's personal life. Like, oh, I'm good, I'm not gonna tell him he's doing wrong. And again, changing the narrative, like, it's okay, like, look, that's not right, and like calling them out. And that's why it's so key being accountable. And of course, there's ways of saying it not to be disrespectful, because you know we get very defensive and all that, but letting them know, okay, I'm here for you, care about you and your family. This is the right way to approach it. And just saying in ways, again, it becomes contagious. Now they're doing that to their friends and their family members again, and just changing the narrative moving forward. Because you're right. Sometimes we just get silent. We don't say anything. We say, oh, well, I'm good, my family's okay, I'm not going to say anything. And you'll be surprised when you do say something, how they treat you. And again, they appreciate you for moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And I want to harp in there as well. Chin checking is necessary. And especially when you talk about changing the narrative. Mm-hmm. And when you think about, more importantly, what did you want your legacy to be? But what do you want the legacy, a part of your personal legacy is the people that are around you. That's a representation of who you are. So, I mean, if I look to, any one of these brothers that are on here and I see them doing wrong, that's an extension of me. Because, I want to say everybody except for TK is married on this call. But, if somebody sees something going on, it's going to be like, hey, you got to check your boy. You know what I mean? So that chin checking is necessary, because all of us are an extension of one another. And we would be doing each other a disservice if we didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's more important, especially as we look to grow the people that are around us. You have to be cognizant of who you're inviting into your circle and making sure if that person is equipped enough to be in your circle that they're meeting those standards, and that you have the ability to be able to approach that person.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. Well, I want to take a little halfway mark break and say, make sure you join the conversation in the comments, and that you also like, follow, and share this episode. Let folks know that we are on with Route 7, and we're having a very lively conversation. And we have one of your super fans out there, Miss Tasha Robinson Banks of the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida. She says Route 7 is amazing.
Miss Tasha, Miss Get It Done. Miss Get It Done.
Yes, perfect examples for the youth in my club. Absolutely. Y'all know Tasha has a special place in my heart. We think it's thieves. I love Miss Tasha. So we had another question for you. Talk about, well, since we talked about Miss Tasha, tell us a little bit about what some of the work that you are doing in the community and some of your notable accomplishments. I'm going to toss that to you, Akwanza.
Yeah, so for me, community service and mentorship were one of the main reasons I joined Route 7. And from a community service standpoint, we are very active in the community. We've done things like Clean the World, Habitat for Humanity, Second Harvest Food Bank, and Coalition for the Homeless. I mean, just being active in the communities, how we make our name and our voices heard. But one of the other great things that I'm super proud of is when I approached the guys about an idea that I had last year called Well Said. And it's pretty much a communication club that I started for young people at the Boys and Girls Club with Miss Tasha. And it came out of a need of seeing that young people are struggling with the ability to communicate clearly. And as I think everyone on this call knows how important that is for getting a job or getting that next position or promotion. So I wanted to start these young people off early by giving them those skills that they need for communication. And again, with the help of Miss Tasha and the folks over at Boys and Girls Club, we started a 12-week program where we have 12 kids, and every week we go in there and we teach them the power of communication, right? The power of words. We give them an opportunity to speak and hear themselves speak. And then at the end of that 12 weeks, we put on kind of a showcase to show the growth of the kids over those 12 weeks, kind of just so they can see how they started and then show the world how they finished. So super proud of both Well Said and the work that we're doing in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you all were right there. You talk about Miss Getting Done when she decided to do a drive-through college fair in Orlando, the first one, right? I think I was right next to you, Akwanza, with your table. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they are all about getting it done. We have a question. Well, it's more of a comment here. It says, legacy is important. That same man that is left unchecked may be raising up a son that isn't held accountable and could be your daughter's spouse. So I thought that's a very timely comment there. Any notable accomplishments? I know that I'm sure you all are going to soon be the award-winning community service organization. So any notable accomplishments that you're pursuing or that you want to share with us?
I'll go ahead and jump. I'll go ahead and jump in. With unique. My bad, Cross.
Got a lot.
I would say with the uniqueness of this year that just passed, 2020, we had so many just opportunities that presented themselves for us. Unfortunately, we had to cut Well Said short last year. We made a lot of leeway with the program. But we wanted to make sure that we were still able to be in those kids' lives, especially the ones that were about to graduate. Yeah. So one of the cool things that we were able to do was a unique graduation ceremony for about 11 of their kids that were going to have no graduation due to COVID-19. Mm-hmm. So Ms. Tasha roped us in, and we took the charge in regards to coordinating, and we had a lot of community support and sponsors. And on Juneteenth at the Wells Built Museum, we were able to host a graduation ceremony for them. We had a proclamation made for them. and really made the opportunity in that day special, because otherwise they weren't going to have that opportunity. It was all hands on deck effort from our group. We may have had like up to 9 or 10 of us that were able to pitch in, whether it was from a financial standpoint, all hands on deck when it comes to service on that particular day with setup, execution. We had our DJ come through, DJ Juice Kid. Kwanzaa said a few words. It was just a well-wrapped approach, and just to see the community involved in that, and for us to be a part of that, it was just so cool, just given the timeliness of it, being on Juneteenth, being at the Wells Built Museum, and understanding this was the first of its kind, because otherwise these young people would not have been celebrated as they should have for such a milestone in their lives.
Right. That's fantastic. All right, sister, I'm gonna toss it to you. I know you have a couple of questions, and I know you wanted to ask one about injustice specifically.
I did, but that's actually not the first question I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask, TK, you haven't chimed in much yet, so I'm going to ask you a question. So it sounds like Route 7, you all have come together, but obviously we know there's a plethora of other organizations already out there. What made it where Route 7 was offering something that you couldn't get from our other organizations or didn't see in other organizations that made you say, I want to be a part of this group?
I would say the accountability portion of it. Actually saying things that they wanted to do and actually holding each other accountable to doing those things. I've been on a couple of organizations around throughout my lifetime and throughout being in Orlando and stuff like that. And just that accountability piece and seeing like-minded individuals like me hold me accountable to the things that I wanted to do in life drew me to them. And from the first day I walked into that door, we had an accountability meeting, and then some things that were stating were like, what do you want us to hold you accountable to throughout your life, or throughout your journey, or throughout your things you want to do in life? And I said it, and they actually held me accountable to achieving that goal that I had. And then the next year came around, year again, we went to that meeting, and you check your P's and Q's and see if you did. And you definitely, I have. So that right there, the accountability portion, definitely drove me to wanting to be a part of Route 7 more than anything, as far as organizational.
Do you mind sharing what that goal was, or is it too personal to share?
No, it's not personal at all. So I, as I said, I was a franchisee owner with Camp Gladiator Outdoor Group Fitness. So I had numbers, I had clients I wanted to hit. I wanted to hit a goal of 100 clients at a certain range. And I think I had like 20 something at the time. And I told them I wanted to hit 100. And that year came around. And when I came in that meeting again, I had 100 underneath me. So that was the goal. And they stuck me to it because they always asked me to push me and just held me to that. So that was that.
Very nice. I like that. And my other question that wasn't the question that I said I was going to ask is, Gene, you mentioned that you all have a mentorship relationship with Orange County Public Schools. Is that correct?
Yes.
What spurred that decision, and how have you seen young Black men impacted by seeing Black men like yourselves?
Yeah. So initially, when we were meeting, we were like, this is benefiting us, but there has to be a little bit more, because from a Black male perspective and a minority perspective, this is not the narrative that's painted across us. It's more so we're not getting along, we're not elevating one another, we're not going into business with each other, things of that nature. So why not reciprocate this energy that we're pouring into each other into young men, and showcasing our efforts and saying, hey, it's okay. We're not all, we're a part of one organization, but we're not all doing the same things. Carolyn and myself are involved in sports. Devon is in the business of banking. Kwanzaa is in web design. TK Group Fitness. We're all in different parts of and walks of life. Showcasing that example that you can be successful, and it doesn't have to be on a basketball court or on a football field, being a rapper or whatever the narrative is for us. It was important to me to showcase, hey, you have so many different options that are coming here consistently, pouring into you on a weekly basis. You can do this. Like, we are a prime example of you can do this.
Nice.
Okay, we got a couple of comments here. I want to toss them up, sister, before we get to your next.
Go ahead.
Ms. Tasha was commenting on the graduation ceremony. She said, in true style, you were open to creating a memory unparalleled by anything else. We have someone else, Deuce. He must be a member. He said, proud to be a part of that event as well as Rouse.
He was the DJ. You didn't hear her say that.
It just went right that way. Yeah. Okay. and now, you know, I'll be trying to monitor things on the screen here.
You're doing your thing. You're doing your thing. You're doing your thing.
Here. Ego list elevation and celebration of brothers is rare. The accountability aspect of Route 7 is inspirational.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it.
Can I take a quick minute? That's Doug Bryant Jr., great friend of ours, great friend to the organization. Doug is leading up efforts in Jacksonville with Ninth Bridge Jacks, doing very similar things to what we're doing, but they have a technology focus, technology, community, and accountability. And they're more so of a brother, I'm not going to call them a sister organization, but a brother organization of ours. And we have our check-ins from an organizational standpoint to say, all right, where are you at? We're checking accountability from an organizational standpoint as well. Their group comes down to Orlando. We go up to Jacksonville. We serve together when it comes to community service. So that's just an extension of, you know, the work that we are doing. And I just want to shout out Ninth Bridge Jacks because they're doing great things in Duval County.
All right, well, Ninth Bridge Jacks, when you ready to come on here and tell us about what you're doing, just let us know. We ready to have you, young man.
Duval.
We had inspirational, motivational, unique. And then there's another question is, do you guys only mentor a specific demographic of boys?
We've actually transitioned that. And I'll let Akwanza kind of harp on our transition of mentorship.
Yeah, so when we initially started our mentorship, we were working with the My Brother's Keeper initiative. And there was nothing wrong with that, but we just felt like we weren't able to give the kids what we felt were life skills that they needed once we left that building. And so that's why we decided to launch Well Said. And Well Said right now, we see that to be a platform that can go for any kind of child or student. But for right now, the focus is our young people, our young men, to get them prepared for the world that's waiting for them. But I would say that it is open to the world once we figure out how to get it going the way we want it.
Well, we need to talk about how we can do it virtually. Are you launching it virtually? Let's talk about it. We'll talk about it. We're gonna talk about how to make that pivot because we need to make that pivot right now because we still know that, I mean, COVID is real. So we have to keep our focus, but adjust to the circumstances around us. So, yeah. Sister, I know you had another question, and this one was TK was gonna take the lead on this one.
Okay, well, TK can take it again, or anybody can jump in. So basically, I just wanted to ask, you know, obviously what we saw this Wednesday, it's were no surprises for us particularly, but we have had in a summer of very tough things that we had to deal with and face in terms of social justice. So TK, how would you say, how does service help us to root out, or if that is root out, that is not route. Root out social injustice.
Well, when it comes from a service standpoint, you really can come back and the root of it is to humble yourself, especially if you are trying to reach out to your, I don't want to say your kind, but to people that look like you, your demographic, your neighborhood, people that are younger than you and wanting to progress also in that aspect. And just like, you know, Akwanza said and Jean said, through that our Well Said program and starting off in that Boys and Girls Club and mentoring the younger ones through communication and how to communicate properly. And there's specific ways to do so. So you don't really get hit on the head hard, get in trouble, I want to say, an aspect, but that's probably referring back to our free speech and then capitalism discussion we had. But yes, really mentoring those younger ones on that communication aspect to, you know, have them do it right, you know, in the right way, and growing, because there's different ways you can do it and go about it. But you know, as we see in today's world, there's people that are not really being held accountable for the way that they communicate, and they feel like they can communicate on different ways and levels when they want, how they want, and that's something we kind of want to shift the narrative on towards our people and the younger generation, I would say. So I hope I answered. I wasn't rambling. Hope I answered your question right.
All right.
If anybody wanted to piggyback on,
I do want to say that with the relaunch of Well Said and everything that's been happening in the world, I think that we have a unique opportunity to teach our young people self-love and love for the community. Those are all things that I'm going to try to inject as we relaunch this year. Is not just how to communicate better, but how do you love yourself? How do you love your community? How do you give back to your community? How do you stand up when you feel like there's unjust happening? And I think we can use Well Said as a platform to really educate our young people about social injustice and how to handle it moving forward. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I think that helping young people even be able to articulate what they're experiencing, because oftentimes they don't have the language. They're experiencing inequity, injustice, and it starts very early in schools. I've talked about even my experiences in school, but I was always outspoken. So I was able to bear the brunt and be able to defend myself or defend others, and was okay with accepting the consequences of it. That's that free speech versus capitalism. I was okay with accepting the consequences of it. Doesn't mean I didn't get angry about it, but being able to be equipped to communicate effectively when you've experienced inequity or an injustice, and then how to go about fixing it. So I think service can spur on, well, how do we fix this? There are many roots of challenges, right, of issues, but then how do we fix it? And equipping young people with the language to help them fix it and stand up for themselves and to affirm themselves is powerful. So that's why we don't talk about how we launch this thing, because that's very important to me.
Okay. Well, I think the comment that Lanice has here is regarding some adults could benefit from the Well Said program. I think that's speaks volumes, for pun intended. Okay, that you know, I've been told that anger, for example, is a secondary emotion. It is not a primary emotion. The primary emotion is something else that caused you to be angry. And so often our young people, it seems, especially now with so much communication that happens on social media that doesn't require you to look somebody in the eye or speak to them directly, they cannot even express those primary emotions. So we're saying we're fine or it's all good, when actually it's I'm hurt, I'm frustrated, I'm offended. You know, there's a bunch of things that you're experiencing that you cannot even articulate. So I love that this program is in existence. Now, is it only with the Boys and Girls Club right now, or that's the only way you can be part of it if you're part of the Boys and Girls Club?
Correct. This is solely a partnership between the Boys and Girls Club and Route 7. We do have plans on, growing and expanding, but for now, we feel like the kids at the Boys and Girls Club, we love them to the core. So we just want to make sure that we give them that resource first and then venture out after.
Well, it sounds like there's an adult component that's going to be available.
Yeah, we do actually have an adult component. Now that you say that, we do welcome mentors, which Demetria she came and was one of. And what we do is we don't just leave the kids out there. We ask that we have volunteers come, and what we do is they become mentors for the young people. So after they speak, we have a one-on-one mentor that will then line up with the young person and tell them, hey, this is what you did great. Here's what you can do better. Here's how you can make this even more impactful next time. So we are using mentors and young people together. It's a really good partnership of using mentors and young people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. We got another comment here. It says, I'm scared. That's another emotion that could demonstrate as anger. And I think, we know within our kids you're facing, a lot of them are scared. It is some fear that manifests itself through anger, frustration, and it shows up in many different ways. So one of our final and closing questions we did want to ask, and I'm going to start with Devon first, and then we'll go around to everybody, is what is the legacy you want to leave with this organization?
Well, with the legacy with Route 7, we just actually want to be that group or that starting point of men that can make that impact on the community as well as ourselves. And that's it. And we just want to keep it going and have other youth see that it's attainable to be able to do the things that we're doing as well as other things for their brothers or their sisters that are coming along under them.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Who wants to go next?
For me, I'll say my legacy, I'd love for my legacy to be that we empower young people. I think everything that I do is geared towards helping the next generation. I was very fortunate when I was younger to have mentors in my life that kind of kept me out of trouble and steered me in the right path. And I want everyone on this call to be that for some young people as well. So empowering young people.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know for me, it's just being, impactful. What did I leave or who did I help that made them help somebody else, passing it forward. I think that's huge for me because when you see somebody become successful, either personally or in their careers, because something you advised them to, or maybe you showed them to do something this way and it actually blows up and they do well and then they pass it on to somebody else, that's what gets me going. That's what motivates me to keep on doing what I do, especially when you hear testimonials from like a mentee, how they didn't know it was possible that they could reach these type of goals until you brought it up to them. That's what gets me going. That's the legacy I like to leave.
Okay. All right.
And then I would go growth and accountability. That's kind of a legacy I want this org to leave, or me, to leave to ones that are under us. It takes, if you can have those two, it leads to much success. And I know when I was growing up and getting into my profession and doing things I wanted to do in my life, having someone to look up to that is like me, that is doing it, and telling you that you can get there also is a whole different ball game. And you believe that and you can get there. And so the growth and accountability aspect, it really is a driver that I want to leave through Route 7.
Okay. All right.
And I would say for myself, that empowerment aspect. I know everybody touched on youth, and that's important. But as minority males coming to one another for support.
Okay, hold on. Can we pause right there? We are removing the word minority out of our vocabulary, right? Because
I got you.
Nothing minor about us and nothing minor about what you're doing. So we're not majority. We're the global majority. Thanks to, Karen Hunter says global majority, but y'all not minority men. Ain't nothing minor about you.
I hear you. I got you.
Okay.
But for us, and I would say Black people as well as brown people, I was going to throw every walk of life in there to show that this platform that we have is for everybody, and that we can uplift you. You may be sitting on something that a goal of yours or something that you're trying to attain, and you don't have that extra push, but you have somebody to the left or right of you that is going to empower you and push you to attain that. That's what I want our legacy to be, and for us to replicate this in other markets. Work that is being done in Jacksonville with Ninth Bridge Jacks and other organizations that can really propel and utilize a platform like this to elevate us.
Okay, that's fantastic. I love that. I know so I have a lot of other things to say. We're gonna say all of those off camera. I got some other folks I need to connect y'all with, because don't they remind you of another group of young men we had on here a little bit?
They do. Very, very, a lot of things in common.
Yes, and I love, that's my personal purpose, and part of my personal mission is I'm a connector, and I have another group of young men I need to connect you guys to, because I think y'all could do some phenomenal things. We have one comment here. It says, one pivotal moment I witnessed was walking into a session and seeing a member who never speaks openly standing and communicating comfortably. And I think that is so very powerful. Again, when you give people voice, and when you give young people voice, there's so much power in owning your own voice. And sometimes that's the only agency we have over our own lives, especially as kids, is that of our voice and being able to speak and speak up for ourselves.
I would even step that further and say, even as adults, and especially our seniors, because we are seeing right now with COVID, for example, a lot of our adults are going into the hospital and they have no one else there to advocate for them. So having the ability to give voice to what you're experiencing and what you need. And we know that, again, as Black people in America, with a healthcare system that is institutionally racist, it is very hard sometimes, even when you are a physician, as we heard those stories, to communicate what you're saying that you need and people actually listen to you. So it is important as early as possible to help our young people find their voices and use them at the right time. I've often said, my problem with a lot of rap artists, for example, I won't call out anybody specifically, but I'm thinking of a few folks specifically. I often say, you have the ear of the world and you're not saying anything. That is a frustration that I have. So I love that this program is intended to help people be able to, young men particularly, or especially, but young women as well, articulate themselves and say how they actually feel.
Mm-hmm. Devon, you're about to say something.
No, I just had a thought. It just came to my mind. I think that's another thing about the group, with the accountability aspect being one of our major pillars, is that, just like the great Maya Angelou once said, people may forget what you say, they may forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And I think once you have that accountability aspect amongst yourself, people see that you're comfortable, and then we can portray that comfortability amongst those kids, which in turn makes them more comfortable as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know we have one of our young fans who was watching, and he said right, and he was communicating in terms of what we're talking about, that communication and having your voice. So, and Cam is a great example of a young person using their voice very well in Louisiana. And then we have another comment from Doug Bryant Jr. It says, fun fact, there would not be a 9th Bridge Jacks without Route 7 Orlando. Super these brothers, and the opportunity to build a legacy between cities. And I think that alone is just a testament of what happens when our brilliance or our magnificence, when we are willing to share it. Mm-hmm. Right? When we're willing to share it. I believe we have everything we need within us and within our community if we're willing to share it. Because I do believe, I know e pluribus unum, out of one many, but I definitely know if we work together, if we're willing to share, there's nothing we cannot achieve and or accomplish.
Absolutely.
So agreed. That's my closing comment for the night. Any other closing comments? And then I'll have my sister close us out.
I just wanted to say, because I know we talked a lot about Well Said, but I wanted to talk about some of the great things. So I don't know if the world knows this, but we were one of 20 nonprofit organizations that received the City of Orlando's Mayor's Matching Grant for 2021. And so we are looking to relaunch the Set program at the Boys and Girls Club, and we are in talks with Ms. Tasha on how that looks and how that feels with COVID now. So stay tuned. We're not done. We did take a little break, but we will be back. Hopefully starting Black History Month of 2021. That's our goal. Stay tuned.
Yes, and go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm gonna go to you because I'm gonna ask for the money. You ain't asking for the money, but
Well, right on time. Right on time. So I was gonna say
there's the website, folks. Route 7
I
Orlando.
was gonna say yes. Visit us at route7orlando.org for the opportunity to donate to our organization that funds our programs, specifically our accountability meetings, our speaker series. So when we have accountability meetings, we take on some of the topics that we may not know, we may not be subject matter experts in, whether it comes to financial literacy, whether it comes to men and mental health, professional development, things of that nature. And then we'll host speaker series with people that are professions in that and utilize our platform to bring our members and the outside community in. So we are definitely and always seeking funds. We actually just launched our a shop where you can shop for Route 7 merch. So that is on our website as well. And those proceeds go back to our organization as well through mentorship, accountability meetings, and our speaker series. So we are grateful for any donations that we do receive. And for any upcoming events that we do have, you can check our social media. We're on all social media from LinkedIn to Instagram, Facebook to Twitter. You can check us out on Route7Orlando or at Route7 Orlando as well.
Nice.
Okay, I'm typing that in there. So you all on every social media platform that you have at Route 7 Orlando, go to the website. And here's the thing about philanthropy. Giving can come in any amount. Just give consistently. And so if all you can do for Route 7 right now, because we know there's hardships out there for many, if all you could do for Route 7 right now is $5, that $5, they can give it a $500 impact, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what it's all about. It's not the size of the donation, it's the impact of the dollar. So what we want you to do is don't be hesitant to make, okay, I could do $5 a month. I could do $50. I might be able to do $500 a month, but give consistently so that they can continue to pour in the lives of young people. And it's so very powerful, as we know, for men and women, young Black men and women, other people of color, but all children, to see positive images of Black men because they don't see them enough. And if we're really going to shift this narrative that we have with this continuing social injustice and the disparity as it relates to racism in this country, they need to see positive men just like you each and every day that are accessible and that are real, right? You're not some, superhero, right? You're just real brothers every day. And all kids need to see you if we're really going to shift this narrative and break these chains that we have holding us back in relation to some of the injustice that we see. You smiling, Devon. Okay, I see you smiling.
I'm with you. 110%.
All right, sis, I'm going to let you close us out.
I have to ask before we close out, because I know my sister initially was saying Route 66, get your kicks on Route 66, but we know it's Route 7. Where did the name come from? I just have to ask that before before I say my final comments.
Devon, you want to take it?
You can go ahead. Kwanzaa, it don't matter.
Or do I have to be a part of the organization to know?
No. So we had a brother comment earlier, Carlos Phillips, one of our original founding members. But we were trying to develop our name. We were about, say, 3 to 4 months in, and we were like, what our organization represents is unity amongst Black people in Orlando. So what does that look like? What does that sound like? And we, at that time, there were 6 major highways connecting Orlando, north, south, east, and west. We wanted to be that 7th route to bring one another together, to provide unity, to provide and serve in our focuses of accountability, community service, and collaboration. So that we are the 7th route that brings people together here in Orlando.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I hope, based on my sister's comments already, I hope that 7th route decides to expand and run east, west, north, south throughout the United States, because I can tell you that there are, again, we're originally from Louisiana. I now live in Arizona. I can tell you there are a plethora of young men, especially, but young people in general, who could benefit from seeing this example and could benefit from learning from young men like yourselves, who are, again, doing great things, positive things, with no expectations other than to grow the community, to hold each other accountable, and to provide service to those who need it most. So I'd say thank you very much for being here. It's been great talking to you. And again, let's figure out how, since we're in COVID, we're going to be inside for a while. Let's get some of these virtual programs off the ground and launch so that everybody can experience Route 7 Orlando.
Thank you. Thank you.
That sounds good. So we're going to ask all of you to hold the line, and we're just going to wave goodbye to everybody. So good night, everybody.
Good night.